All right. Thank you for joining episode number 243 of the Sonya Dungee Podcast, which is being sponsored tonight by Always Destined for Greatness, B Lips, and Drip City Customs, LLC. Side note, real quick. Should we disappear, it's because we are having a severe thunderstorm outside. So I was giving it a few minutes before I started, but it's all good. Worst case, we lose power. And as soon as our power comes back on, the Sonya Dungee Podcast will be back on. So again, thank you for joining on this episode number 243. Please indicate the geographical area in which you are tuning in from tonight so that we can thank you appropriately. When value is being received, please let us know in the comments, as well as if you experience an aha moment or even a breakthrough. And with that being said, great evening, and welcome to the Sonya Dungee Podcast, where conversation is always the essence of the soul. I am your host, Sonya Dungee, still bringing the heat to the IG, Facebook, YouTube, and now the TikTok streets. So before we dive deep into tonight's episode, in honor of, I'm sorry, I'm fighting this, sorry, fighting these allergies as well. But in honor of Mental Health Awareness Month, we are bringing this episode to you with a greater of awareness when it pertains to parental loss. So with that being said, I'm sorry. People will ask you how you are doing, but very few ask you how your heart is surviving. For some of us, parental grief didn't just break our hearts. It changed our minds. It changed our sleep. It changed the way we trust people. It changed how safe the world feels. And during Mental Health Awareness Month, I think it's important that we finally talk about it. Okay? Sometimes losing a parent feels like the version of yourself that existed before the goodbye. You hear that? A lot of thundering out there. You started functioning, but you don't feel alive. You answer texts, but isolate emotionally. You laugh at jokes, but cry in silence afterwards. You keep showing up for everybody else while secretly wondering who is checking in on you. Because grief doesn't always sound like crying. Sometimes grief sounds like exhaustion. Sometimes it sounds like anger. Sometimes it sounds like overthinking at 2 a.m. Sometimes it sounds like I'm fine when you haven't been fine for a very long time. And the hardest part, people expect you to just move on when you haven't been fine in a very long time. And the hardest part, again, people expect you to just move on because time has passed. But you see, people expect you to move on because time has passed. Papa. But grief does not follow calendars. A daughter can lose her parents at 25 and still need them at 45. Okay. A son can lose his father and spend years trying to figure out who he is without that guidance. Parental grief can create anxiety. It can create depression, emotional numbness, fear of abandonment, even guilt for surviving moments your parents never got to see. And many people are silently carrying all of that while still trying to work, parent, smile, lead, and survive. So I ask you these questions. Who were you before the loss? And who have you become afterward? Have you been healing or just distracting yourself? How much of your strength is actually emotional survival mode? What part of yourself disappeared when your parent died? Are you giving everybody else compassion while denying it to yourself? What would happen if you stopped pretending you were okay? These are people that are listening tonight who are mentally exhausted from carrying grief alone. You see, you miss hearing their voice. You miss their advice. You miss being somebody's child in the way only a parent can make you feel. And nobody prepares you for how lonely adulthood becomes after parental loss. Nobody talks enough about the panic attacks, the emotional shutdowns, the memory triggers, the guilt attached to smiling again, the fear of getting their face, their laugh, their scent. I'm sorry, the fear of forgetting their face, their laugh, their scent. Mental health awareness matters because grief changes the mind as much as it changes the heart. And if you're listening tonight, I need you to hear this. Seeking therapy does not make you weak. Crying does not make you unstable. Taking medication if needed does not make you broken. Needing rest does not make you lazy. So before we go any further, I want to give you some statistics and some ways to participate in Mental Awareness Month. But before we do that, I want to share my story with you briefly for those who are on tonight for the first time. And I see in the comments that you are here. Thank you, Miami, for joining. I appreciate you. Harlem for joining. Thank you very much. You can hear that thunder. Yes. We have the mini AV guy over here bugging out a little bit, so you're going to hear him even more so, but it is what it is. Welcome the Caribbean, more so Trinidad in the house. Yes, you miss those family times that you get in the emotional shutdowns. All of these questions are excellent and important, Coach Sonya. Massive value. Yes, I'm glad that you are receiving value, and I just want to jump over in case we lose signal and I might not be able to see the other comments that are being left, and I don't want to lose anybody. New York is in the building. Thank you for watching as well. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to just speak quickly about my story and how I became a parental grief life coach. It came about back in January 23rd of 2021 at the VA Hospital in Northport, a day I will never remember. It started out as a doctor's visit for my father. And 48 hours before what I have to tell you to come, I found myself sitting in that hospital in this very small, uncomfortable room where a medical professional told my dad and myself that he had 6 months to live. Totally out of left field, never saw it coming, ever. Obviously, I wasn't prepared for it. And I didn't want to show how I was really feeling. I felt myself breaking down, but I didn't want to show it. And it wasn't but God that helped me keep it together in that room, to be 100% honest. This is the first time I've even saying that. So in my mind, as she's speaking, I'm thinking what I'm going to do to make my father's 6 months as comfortable as possible, changing things around in my room, getting the medical equipment that my dad needs, and even pulling his recliner from his home to mine. And in doing all that, you see, God saw fit and had a different plan. Now, as I said, not even 48 hours later, I find myself sitting at my dad's bedside in that same VA hospital. And I reluctantly held his hand. Not that I didn't want to hold his hand per se, but I knew if I was there, if I held his hand, if I just accepted the fact, I knew what was to come. And I didn't want to do that. But there I was. So as I was staring at my dad, I witnessed a tear come down his cheek. And it was in those moments that he took his last breath here on this earth. And I know it was his first breath in heaven. And I instantly began to spiral out of control. And I remained there for 342 days. I was isolated. I lost a lot of weight. I lost my identity. I lost that closeness with my family and my friends. I wasn't taking phone calls. I was doing the bare minimum. My days became a cycle of survival. And it wasn't until enough became enough when I knew I couldn't continue down that path. Okay, puppy. And I knew my dad wouldn't expect that fine gentleman behind me in those two pictures. I knew he would say, Sonya, what are you doing? Get yourself together. I'm good. I went to be with the Lord. I'm with Mama. I'm good. So I had to get myself together because I knew there was more life ahead of me than behind me. And I knew I escaped death for a purpose and from my past. And so with that being said, I invested in myself. And in that came a coach / mentor, now family and friend. And also towing right alongside came the Be Iconic community, which I leaned on for support even when they didn't know it. And now here it is 5.5 years plus. And that is the reason why I'm sitting behind you, because I never want anybody to go through what it was that I went through. I didn't know, think about even, oh, well, go on social media and get help. I could have been helped with my family, but I didn't want to tell them because in my mind, they were going to grieve more worrying about me and what I was going through. And that was extra burden on them. So I invested in myself, as I said. I did the work. And now I get to help women such as myself in their early 30s to mid 50s. Okay, Papa. And I get to help them move from the parental grief to having an attitude of expectation and of excellence so that they can reach their economic excellence and they can walk fully in their God-given purpose as well. Okay. Thank you for allowing me to share. And again, it's a little bit noisy because you can hear that thunder, and I guess we're getting a little apprehensive if you know what I mean, in the background. But it's all good. At the end of the day, it's all good. I'm reading back in the comments. Yes, value. And yes, Miami says that she would have never moved without investing in a coach as well. That is so factual. You cannot do it alone. Heck, I tried it for 342 days and it got me absolutely nowhere fast. So with that being said, I just want to share a couple of things with you. And the first is parental loss in adulthood significantly impacts women's mental health, elevating the risk for depression, anxiety, and severe grief. Daughters experience some of the most severe mental health declines, particularly around the time of a parent's passing, while those handling single parenthood face compounded economic and psychological distress. Up to 25.9% of adults report severe grief reactions following bereavement, with the female gender frequently citing as a prominent risk factor for these persistent reactions. And how you can participate in Mental Awareness Month is you can advocate by wearing a green ribbon to symbolize hope, strength, and emotional support for mental health awareness. You can educate by challenging mental health stigma by sharing personal stories. Read about mental health or behavioral health conditions. According to the National Alliance of Mental Health, otherwise known as NAMI, you are encouraged to take a training course like a QPR, Question, Persuade, Refer, is the abbreviation, QPR, to learn how to recognize warning signs of suicide and respond. Immediate support and hotlines, you can call or text 988. The 988 Suicide and Crises Lifeline, which is a national network that provides free and confidential support. You can also text HOME to 741-741 to reach the crisis text line for free 24/7 support via text. So tonight, please give yourself permission to admit, I am hurting, I am tired, I miss my parents, I need support. Because healing begins the moment honesty enters the room. You are carrying emotional weight that many people could never understand. But remember that healing also requires honesty. You cannot heal what you keep hiding. And a biblical reflection is, the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. And that's in Psalms 34, verse 18. Even in grief, even in mental exhaustion, even in the moments where you feel abandoned by life itself, God still sees the part of you nobody else notices. So again, you can be grieving and still healing. You can be struggling and still worthy of love. You can miss them forever and still find reasons to keep living. So, just going to jump back over one more time into the comments that I won't be able to read later. God bless you as well, Miami. Thank you. I'm reading the value. Thank you, Trinidad. Love the green ribbon. Thanks for sharing the crisis hotlines. Absolutely. Trinidad, thank you for sharing these wonderful insights, Queen. And that is so true. Absolutely. And Facebook, you're a little bit behind in the comments, and it's fine. I will read and respond every last one of those. But I want you to really think about what it is that was discussed tonight. And if it doesn't pertain to you per se, but you're watching now or on the replay, and you know of somebody who can be helped, please share this episode number 243 with them, because it's very important. And then the next Boss Warrior Queen Masterclass, after the final goodbye, Becoming Her Again, is going to be held on Wednesday, June the 3rd at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is for the woman who has experienced parental loss, who smiles in public but cries in private, who feels emotionally exhausted from pretending to be strong, has isolated herself because nobody understands her pain, feels guilty for trying to move forward, secretly wonders if she will ever feel like herself again. Please comment masterclass or DM me privately, and I will send you the registration link. It's based on first come, first serve basis. So with that being said, thank you for joining. Thank you for commenting. I want you to know that I value all of you. I appreciate all of you. I see you. I feel you. I hear you as well. Stay safe. Stay well. God bless you all. Bye for now.